My name is Eleanor, a 68-year-old retired schoolteacher from a quiet Pennsylvania town. For years, I lived a simple life with my son Robert and his wife Stephanie after selling my home to help them. Everything changed when I bought that lottery ticket worth $17 million. The celebration lasted one night before they started pushing me out, demanding I find my own place. What they never bothered to check was whose name was actually printed on that life-changing ticket. As I share how my own son betrayed me over money, let me know in the comments where you're watching from, and subscribe if you want to hear how justice finally came around. I spent 40 years teaching English literature at Riverdale High School here in Pennsylvania. Those were some of the best years of my life, watching young minds discover the beauty of Shakespeare, Austen, and Fitzgerald. My late husband Thomas and I built a wonderful life together, raising our only son Robert in a modest 4-bedroom home on Maple Street. Thomas was the love of my life. We met in college and were married for 43 years before pancreatic cancer took him from me 5 years ago. After Thomas passed, our family home felt too big, too empty. The silence was deafening. Every corner held memories that both comforted and haunted me. Around that time, Robert and his wife Stephanie had been saving for their dream house, a beautiful colonial in the prestigious Oakwood neighborhood. They had been living in a small apartment with their 2 children, my grandchildren Madison, 9, and Jason, 7. With property values rising rapidly, they were struggling to save enough for the down payment. One evening over dinner at my place, Robert mentioned they'd found the perfect house, but it was slightly beyond their budget. I still remember how his eyes lit up when he showed me pictures on his phone. The spacious backyard where the kids could play, the sunlit kitchen where Stephanie could pursue her baking hobby, the office where Robert could work from home. "It's perfect, Mom," he said. "But we're about $80,000 short for the down payment. The bank won't approve our loan without it." That night, I made a decision that would change everything. Our family home was worth considerably more than when Thomas and I bought it decades ago. With Robert being our only child, everything would go to him eventually anyway. Why not help them now when they needed it most? "I could sell our house," I suggested. "Use the money to help with your down payment. And maybe I could move in with you all? I could help with Madison and Jason." Robert was hesitant at first, concerned about imposing on me. But Stephanie's eyes immediately calculated the financial advantage. Within weeks, my home of 4 decades was sold, the proceeds transferred to Robert's bank account, and I moved into their new 5-bedroom house in Oakwood. The first few months were harmonious. I occupied the guest bedroom on the first floor, giving the family privacy upstairs. I cooked breakfast each morning, helped the children with homework after school, and kept the house tidy. Stephanie seemed appreciative, especially since she could focus on her part-time real estate career without worrying about childcare costs. My daily routine became simple but fulfilling. Monday mornings were for grocery shopping at Wilson's Market, where Frank, the owner, always saved the ripest avocados for me. Tuesdays and Thursdays I volunteered at the public library, reading to preschoolers. Wednesdays were special. I would treat myself to one lottery ticket from Pete's convenience store, never expecting to win but enjoying the small thrill of possibility. Fridays I attended a book club with several other retired teachers, and weekends were family time. Financially, I was comfortable but not wealthy. My teacher's pension covered my modest personal expenses, but the bulk of my life savings had gone into Robert and Stephanie's house. I had about $20,000 left in an emergency fund, which I kept untouched. The first signs that things weren't as perfect as they seemed came about 6 months after I moved in. One afternoon, I was in the garden picking tomatoes when I overheard Stephanie on the phone through the open kitchen window. "It's not ideal having the old lady here all the time," she was saying to someone, probably one of her friends. "But free childcare is free childcare, right? And we couldn't have afforded this place without her money." I pretended not to hear when I came inside with the tomatoes, but something shifted in me that day. I began noticing things I had overlooked before: how Stephanie would sigh dramatically when I suggested dinner ideas, how she and Robert would exchange glances when I entered a room mid-conversation, how they never invited their friends over if I was home. Robert had changed too. As a child, he had been so close to me, calling me his best friend, sharing his dreams and fears. Now in his late 30s, married with children of his own, he had become distant. When we did talk, our conversations were superficial, whether the children's activities, neighborhood gossip. Nothing of substance. I began to feel like an intruder in their home, despite having funded a significant portion of it. Some nights I would lie awake wondering if I had made a terrible mistake selling my house. But where else could I go? Most of my money was now in their walls and floors. I was trapped in a beautiful home where I increasingly felt unwelcome. Still, I told myself things could be worse. I had a roof over my head. I saw my grandchildren daily, watching them grow and flourish. Madison was becoming an excellent piano player, while Jason showed promise in baseball. If I sometimes caught Stephanie rolling her eyes when I entered the room, or if Robert was too busy with work to have our Sunday chats anymore, I could live with that. After all, this was family. And family is supposed to stick together through thick and thin. Or so I thought. Every Wednesday for the past 15 years, I had maintained the same ritual. After volunteering at the library, I would walk the 3 blocks to Pete's convenience store and purchase 1 lottery ticket for $5. It was my small indulgence, a tiny sliver of hope wrapped in a paper slip. Pete, the 65-year-old owner with salt and pepper hair and reading glasses perpetually perched on his nose, would greet me with the same joke each time. "Today's the day, Eleanor. I can feel it," he would say, his eyes crinkling with mirth. And I would respond, "If it is, Pete, you'll be the first to know after my family." We both knew the odds were astronomically against me. 1 in 302 million to be exact. I didn't play to win, not really. I played because for $5 I bought myself permission to daydream for a week about what could be. A small condo of my own, perhaps. A trip to Paris that Thomas and I had always planned but never taken. A charitable foundation to help students who couldn't afford college. That particular Wednesday in April started like any other. The spring air was fresh with possibility as daffodils peeked through garden beds around the neighborhood. I had spent the morning helping the librarian, Janet, organize a poetry reading event. Afterward, I made my usual walk to Pete's store, enjoying the sunshine on my face. When I arrived, I was surprised to see Robert's car parked outside. He rarely came to this part of town during work hours. As I entered, the little bell above the door announcing my arrival, I spotted him at the counter buying a coffee. "Robert," I called out, genuinely pleased at this unexpected encounter. "What brings you here in the middle of the workday?" He turned, coffee in hand, looking slightly startled. "Mom, just needed a caffeine boost. Client meeting ran long, and I have another in 30 minutes across town." "Well, I'm just here for my weekly lottery ticket," I explained, approaching the counter where Pete was already pulling out the lottery slip for me to fill. "Still playing those same numbers, Eleanor?" Pete asked, sliding the paper toward me. I had been using the same combination for years: 4, 12, 23, 31, 42, and 55. Numbers that held special meaning. Thomas's birthday, our wedding date, Robert's birthday, the day I started teaching, and the number of years Thomas and I had known each other. But something made me pause that day. "Actually," I said, turning to Robert with a smile, "why don't you pick the numbers today? Might change my luck." Robert seemed surprised but shrugged agreeably. "Sure, why not?" He took the slip and pen, quickly marking 6 numbers. 7, 16, 22, 29, 45, and 51. "Any significance?" I asked as he handed the completed slip back to Pete. "Not really," Robert admitted. "Just random." Pete processed the ticket and I paid my $5. As he handed me the ticket, I glanced at it briefly before tucking it into my wallet. "See you next week, Pete," I called as Robert and I walked out together. "Want to grab lunch?" I suggested hopefully. Robert checked his watch. "Can't today, Mom. Next meeting's across town." "Rain check." I nodded, trying not to show my disappointment as he hurried to his car with a quick goodbye. I walked home alone, stopping to admire Mrs. Patterson's tulips that had just bloomed in vibrant reds and yellows. That evening was lottery night. It had become something of a family tradition for us to watch the drawing together after dinner, not because anyone expected to win, but because the children enjoyed the excitement. We gathered in the living room at 9 o'clock, the dishes from our chicken casserole dinner cleared away. "Grandma's going to be a millionaire tonight," Jason declared, bouncing on the sofa cushion beside me. "The odds are very small, sweetheart," I reminded him gently. But it's fun to dream. Stephanie was scrolling through her phone, barely paying attention. Robert was half watching while reviewing work documents on his laptop. Only the children and I were truly engaged as the lottery host appeared on screen, standing beside the machine filled with numbered balls. Tonight's jackpot is $17 million, the announcer declared dramatically. Good luck, players. The machine whirred to life, balls bouncing chaotically inside the transparent chamber. The first ball shot up the tube. 7, announced the host. I blinked in surprise. That was one of Robert's numbers. 16, came the second number. Madison squealed. You got another one, Grandma? By now, Robert had closed his laptop, his attention fully captured. The third ball emerged. 22. Stephanie's phone lowered slowly as she stared at the screen in disbelief. 29. The room had gone completely silent now. For numbers. We all had the same thought. This couldn't possibly continue. 45. Robert stood up suddenly, his documents sliding to the floor unnoticed. Mom, he whispered hoarsely. Where's your ticket? With trembling hands, I reached for my purse on the side table and extracted my wallet. The final ball was selected. And the last number is 51. The world seemed to stop. Madison and Jason began jumping and screaming. Stephanie's phone clattered to the floor. Robert rushed to my side as I pulled out the ticket with fingers that felt numb and clumsy. Let me see it, Mom, he urged, his voice tight with barely controlled excitement. I handed it to him, still unable to fully process what was happening. He checked the numbers once, twice, 3 times. We won, he whispered, then louder. We won. The next moments were a blur of embraces, tears, and disbelieving laughter. Stephanie hugged me tightly. Something she hadn't done in years. Robert lifted each child in turn, spinning them around the room. In that moment, we were truly a family united in joyous disbelief. We need to keep this quiet, Robert eventually said, his practical nature reasserting itself. No telling anyone until we figure out how to claim it safely. I'll put it somewhere secure, he added, carefully taking the ticket from my hand. We don't want it getting lost. I nodded, still dazed by our incredible fortune. That night, as I lay in bed unable to sleep, my mind raced with possibilities. Perhaps now I could afford my own place nearby Independence but still close to my family. I could set up college funds for Madison and Jason. Maybe take them all on a family vacation. Disney World perhaps, where the children had always wanted to go. For the first time since Thomas died, I felt a lightness in my heart, a sense that everything would be all right. The financial worries that had been my constant companion, carefully hidden from Robert, could finally be put to rest. The next morning, I awoke to the smell of coffee and bacon. In the kitchen, I found Stephanie humming as she prepared an elaborate breakfast, something she never did on weekdays. Good morning, Eleanor, she sang out cheerfully. I made your favorite blueberry pancakes. Her sudden warmth was surprising but welcome. Perhaps the lottery win had softened some of the tensions between us. Robert, too, was unusually attentive, pouring my coffee just how I liked it, asking detailed questions about my plans for the day. It was only when I went to get a sweater from the laundry room that I overheard them speaking in hushed, urgent tones in Robert's home office. We need to be smart about this, Stephanie was saying. What about her share? Let me handle it, Robert replied. She doesn't need to know everything right away. I quietly retreated, an uneasy feeling settling in my stomach, but I pushed it aside. This was my son after all, the boy I had raised to be honest and fair. Surely he would do right by me. I couldn't have been more wrong. The changes were subtle at first, like clouds gradually gathering before a storm. The morning after our win, Robert announced at breakfast that we should wait before claiming the prize. We need a solid plan, he explained, buttering his toast with methodical precision. We should consult with financial advisors, maybe a lawyer. Figure out the tax implications. This seemed reasonable enough. $17 million was life-changing money that required careful handling. I nodded in agreement, still somewhat dazed by our extraordinary luck. Where did you put the ticket? I asked casually. A flicker of something hesitation, concern, crossed Robert's face before he replied. Somewhere very safe. The less everyone knows, even within the family, the better. Again, this made sense. I had read stories about lottery winners being hounded by distant relatives, scammers, and thieves. Still, a small voice inside me whispered that I should at least know where my own ticket was kept. By the third day after the win, I noticed Stephanie constantly checking her phone, scrolling through luxury items on shopping websites. She had tabs open for Gucci handbags, a Mercedes dealership, and high-end real estate listings. When she saw me noticing, she quickly closed her browser. "Just window shopping," she said with a laugh that sounded slightly forced. "Dreaming a little, you know?" That same afternoon, I overheard her on the phone with someone, her voice low and excited. "We're thinking the Maldives for 2 weeks, then maybe a European tour." I know. Can you believe it? Everything's going to change now. No mention of me in these plans, I noticed. Perhaps they were thinking of a family vacation later? Or maybe they assumed I wouldn't want to travel extensively at my age. I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt. The following day, Madison came home from school and excitedly started telling me about a conversation she'd overheard between her parents. "Daddy said we might get a swimming pool, and Mommy wants a home theater room. And they talked about a vacation house in Florida. Can you come with us to Florida, Grandma?" Before I could respond, Stephanie swiftly entered the kitchen, her face tight with barely concealed annoyance. "Madison, remember what we discussed about not talking to Grandma about certain things?" she said, her voice artificially sweet. "Go start your homework now, please." After Madison left, looking confused, I turned to Stephanie. "Is there a reason the children shouldn't discuss the lottery with me?" Stephanie busied herself with the coffee maker, avoiding my eyes. "We just don't want them getting too excited before everything's settled. You know how kids are, they might tell their friends and then word would spread." That evening, I found a glossy brochure for luxury cruises on the coffee table. Inside, several itineraries were circled, all for 2 adults and 2 children. Nothing for a third adult. When Robert came home, I casually mentioned it. "Thinking of a family vacation already?" His response was oddly defensive. "Just gathering information at this point. Nothing's decided." Later that night, I overheard them arguing in their bedroom. Their voices were hushed but intense. "We can't just cut her out completely," Robert was saying. "Why not?" Stephanie countered. "The ticket was bought with your numbers. You're the one who marked the slip. But technically she paid for it." "With what money?" "The pension we basically subsidize by giving her free housing. Besides, she's been living off us for years. Consider her share already paid." I stood frozen in the hallway, my heart pounding painfully in my chest. Was this really happening? Were they actually planning to exclude me from the winnings? The ticket was in my name. I had bought it, even if Robert had selected the numbers on a whim. The next morning at breakfast, I decided to broach the subject directly. "So, have we decided when we'll claim the lottery prize?" It's been almost a week. Robert and Stephanie exchanged glances before Robert cleared his throat. "Actually, Mom, we've been meaning to talk to you about that. We think it might be best if Stephanie and I handle the claim. Given your age, it might be complicated for you to manage such a large sum." "My age?" I repeated, stunned by this transparent excuse. "I'm 68, not 98. I'm perfectly capable of managing my finances." "Of course you are," Stephanie interjected smoothly. "It's just that there are complex tax strategies, investment decisions. It would be a lot for anyone to handle. Besides," Robert added, not quite meeting my eyes, "you've been seeming a bit confused lately. Forgetting things." This was an outright lie. My mind was as sharp as ever. I had never experienced any significant memory issues, and Robert knew it. This was clearly a strategy to undermine my claim to the money. "I haven't forgotten anything significant," I said firmly. "And I'd like to be involved in claiming what is legally my winnings." Stephanie's pleasant mask slipped momentarily. "Let's be realistic about whose winnings they really are." Robert picked those numbers. Were the ones with expenses, the kids' education, this house. A house I helped pay for. I reminded her quietly. The atmosphere in the kitchen grew tense. Robert stood up abruptly. "We'll discuss this more later. I need to get to work." Over the next few days, I noticed them whispering constantly, conversations that would halt abruptly when I entered a room. The children were clearly instructed not to discuss lottery-related topics around me. Once warm family dinners became stilted affairs filled with superficial conversation and underlying tension. One evening, I used Robert's computer while he and Stephanie were at a school function with the children. I needed to check my email, and my tablet was charging. What I found open in his browser shocked me to my core. Real estate listings, not for vacation homes, but for senior living communities and small apartments in the less desirable part of town. He had bookmarked several, all affordable on a teacher's pension, but nothing more. They were looking for somewhere to put me. The next day, I decided to confront them directly. I saw the apartment listings on your computer, Robert. His face flushed with guilt before quickly composing itself. I was just doing some preliminary research. With the lottery win, we've been thinking about making some changes around here. What kind of changes? Stephanie jumped in, apparently deciding that pretense was no longer necessary. We're thinking of renovating, converting your room into a proper home gym and office space. It might be better for everyone if you had your own place. My own place, I repeated slowly. And how exactly am I supposed to afford that after putting most of my savings into your down payment? We'd help you get set up, of course, Robert said quickly. A small apartment wouldn't cost much. I looked at my son, this person I had raised, loved, sacrificed for, and barely recognized him. And the lottery money? My lottery money? Stephanie's eyes hardened. Be realistic, Eleanor. You bought that ticket with money from a pension that barely covers your personal expenses. We've been supporting you for years. And it was Robert who picked the winning numbers. That's not how lotteries work, I said quietly. The ticket is in my name. I purchased it. Prove it, Stephanie challenged. Where's the ticket now? Do you even remember the numbers without looking them up? The cruel implication hung in the air, that I was too old, too forgetful to be trusted, that the win wasn't really mine at all. In that moment, I knew without a doubt that my son and his wife had no intention of sharing the $17 million with me. Worse, they were planning to push me out of their home. A home I had helped them obtain by selling everything I owned. The betrayal cut deeper than any knife could reach. The morning after our confrontation, I woke early and made coffee in the silent kitchen. The house had changed for me overnight. What once felt at least partially like home now seemed like hostile territory. Every corner held memories of happier times that now felt tainted. The refrigerator covered with Madison's artwork. The height markings for both children penciled on the wall by the pantry. The kitchen table where we had shared countless meals together. I was stirring sugar into my coffee when Stephanie entered, already dressed in her workout clothes, her face a careful mask of neutrality. Good morning, I offered, attempting normalcy despite the tension hanging between us. She nodded curtly, avoiding eye contact as she prepared her protein shake. The silence stretched uncomfortably until she finally spoke. Robert and I discussed things further last night, she said, her back still turned to me. We think 2 weeks should be enough time for you to find a new living arrangement. The bluntness of her statement, delivered so casually, as if she were discussing a change in dinner plans rather than appending my entire life, left me momentarily speechless. 2 weeks. I finally managed to find an affordable apartment and move all my belongings. With what money exactly? Stephanie turned to face me, her expression coolly detached. We'll cover the security deposit and first month's rent somewhere suitable. As for your things, you don't really have that much, do you? Most of the furniture here is ours. This was technically true. When I had sold my house, I had sold or donated most of my furniture, bringing only personal items, clothing, and a few cherished pieces that now resided in what they called my room, but had always been labeled as the guest room when friends visited. And after that first month? I asked. My pension barely covers basic necessities. That's why I've been living here. An arrangement we agreed upon when I gave you $80,000 for your down payment. Something flashed across Stephanie's face, irritation, perhaps guilt, before she shrugged. That was your choice, Eleanor. Nobody forced you to sell your house. And frankly, we've more than repaid that investment with free room and board for 3 years. Plus, she added, her voice taking on an edge, You'll be getting some money from the lottery. A fair portion. Once everything's settled. The lie was so transparent I almost laughed. And what do you consider fair, Stephanie? 1%. 2. Before she could respond, Robert entered the kitchen, his face grave. He must have been listening from the hallway. Mom, this doesn't have to be adversarial, he said, using his reasonable voice, the same tone he had employed since childhood when trying to talk his way out of trouble. We're trying to be fair here. The fact is, this living arrangement isn't working anymore. With the lottery win, we're going to be making significant changes to our lifestyle. Changes that don't include me, I stated flatly. Robert at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. It's not that simple. We need the space. The kids are growing. Stephanie wants to expand her home office for her real estate business. We're thinking of installing a pool, maybe converting the ground floor guest room into a home gym. My room, I corrected him quietly. The room I've been living in for 3 years. It was always meant to be temporary, Stephanie interjected, abandoning any pretense of kindness. Let's be honest, Eleanor. You expected Robert to support you indefinitely. That's not fair to us or our children. I felt a surge of anger rise within me. Not hot and explosive, but cold and clarifying. Let's indeed be honest, Stephanie. I sold my home, gave you both $80,000 for your down payment, and have provided free childcare for your children while you pursued your career. I cook, clean, and contribute to this household in numerous ways. This was never charity. It was a family arrangement that benefited everyone. Robert shifted uncomfortably. Nobody's denying you've helped, Mom. But people's needs change. Circumstances change. Yes, I agreed, looking directly at him. Like suddenly winning $17 million. Later that day, I found myself alone in the house. Robert had gone to work, Stephanie to a real estate showing, and the children were at school. I sat at Robert's computer again, this time intentionally searching for information. Bank statements, email correspondence, anything that might give me insight into their plans. What I discovered sent a chill through me. Robert had already contacted the State Lottery Commission. He had inquired about claiming procedures, tax implications, and payout options. In one email, he referred to himself and Stephanie as the winners without any mention of me. I also found a conversation with a real estate agent about listing properties in Sunny Pines Retirement Community, a place known locally for its minimal amenities and maximum fees. The agent had sent floor plans for their smallest units, noting they were within the budget parameters discussed. They weren't just pushing me out. They were planning to warehouse me in the cheapest possible facility, while they enjoyed millions. That evening, over a tension-filled dinner, Madison innocently asked, "Why was Daddy putting Grandma's things in boxes in the garage?" Robert nearly choked on his water. "Just some organizing, sweetheart. Nothing important." "But you said Grandma needed to pack her things because she's..." "Madison." Stephanie cut in sharply. "That's enough. Eat your dinner." The little girl's face crumpled in confusion, while Jason stared at his plate, unusually quiet. They sensed the tension, even if they didn't fully understand it. After the children were in bed, I confronted Robert in the living room where he was pretending to watch television. "You're already packing my belongings?" Without even discussing it with me. He had the grace to look ashamed. I was just getting a head start, trying to be helpful. Helpful would be showing me the lottery ticket that has my name on it. Helpful would be honoring our family agreement instead of discarding me the moment money enters the picture. Robert's expression hardened. "The ticket is in a safe deposit box. And regarding family agreements, things change, Mom. Stephanie and I need our space. Our independence. Independence purchased with my retirement savings," I reminded him. "A gift," he countered. "You said it was a gift at the time." A gift given with the understanding that I would have a place to live. Stephanie entered from the kitchen, her patience clearly exhausted. "Look, Eleanor, let's cut through all this. The house is in our names. Legally, we can ask you to leave at any time. We're being generous offering to help with a new place." "And the lottery ticket that's in my name?" I challenged. "Is that legally yours too?" "Prove it's in your name," Stephanie shot back. "Where's your receipt?" Any evidence at all that you bought it? I felt my face flush with anger and hurt. Ask Pete at the convenience store. He'll remember selling it to me. He always does. The word of a shop clerk against ours? Stephanie laughed dismissively. Besides, Robert chose the numbers. Without him, there would be no winning ticket. Without my $5, there would be no ticket at all, I countered. Robert stood up, clearly uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. This is getting us nowhere. The fact remains, Mom, you need to find your own place. 2 weeks. We'll help with the initial costs, and you'll get a fair settlement once the lottery claim is processed. Which you're handling without me, I noted. It's simpler that way, he insisted. That night, lying in bed, I heard Madison crying in her room upstairs. Soon after, Jason's quieter sobs joined hers. Their parents' voices drifted down, not comforting but scolding. Stop this nonsense immediately, Stephanie was saying. Grandma will be fine. She's just going to live somewhere else. But why can't she stay? Madison pleaded. I want her to stay. Because this is our house, came Stephanie's firm reply. And we make the decisions here. I pressed my pillow against my face to muffle my own tears. Not just for myself, but for my grandchildren who were being taught a terrible lesson about family loyalty and the power of money to corrupt even the closest bonds. The next morning, I found an official-looking document on the kitchen counter when I came down for breakfast. It was a rental application for Sunny Pines Retirement Community, already partially filled out with my information. Beside it lay a note in Robert's handwriting. Appointment to view the apartment tomorrow at 10. They have an opening for immediate occupancy. First month's rent and security deposit will be covered. No discussion. No options. Just marching orders from the son I had raised, educated, and loved unconditionally. I picked up the rental application with trembling hands and tore it neatly in half. It was time to fight back. That afternoon, while Robert was at work and Stephanie was showing houses, I called my oldest friend Barbara. We had taught English together at Riverdale High for over 30 years before retiring within months of each other. Barbara had been my rock after Thomas died, checking on me daily, bringing casseroles, sitting with me through the darkest nights of grief. Can I come over? I asked, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. I need your help with something important. Of course, Barbara replied immediately. Is everything all right? You sound tense. I'll explain everything when I see you. 30 minutes later, I was sitting in Barbara's sunlit kitchen, a cup of chamomile tea warming my hands as I recounted the entire situation. The lottery win, Robert and Stephanie's betrayal, their plans to evict me. Barbara's face grew increasingly outraged as I spoke. When I finished, she reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Those ungrateful little. I always thought Stephanie was a piece of work. But Robert? After everything you've done for him? I nodded, fighting back tears. I don't know what to do, Barbara. I have no proof the ticket is mine except my word against theirs. Barbara straightened in her chair, a determined gleam in her eye. What about the actual ticket? Have you seen it since the drawing? No. Robert took it that night for safekeeping. Claims it's in a safe deposit box now. And you're sure your name is on it? Lottery tickets usually have a space for the purchaser's name. I paused, trying to recall the moment I bought the ticket. Pete always asks if I want to fill in my information. I always do. My eyes widened suddenly. Barbara, I think I took a picture of it. What do you mean you think? It's a habit I started a few years ago. I explained, fumbling for my phone. After that story in the news about the man who lost his winning ticket, I started taking photos of my tickets just in case. With shaking fingers, I navigated to my photo gallery and scrolled back to the previous Wednesday. And there it was, a slightly blurry but legible image of the lottery ticket, with my name clearly printed in the purchaser field. Eleanor Harrison, followed by my address. Barbara peered at the screen, her eyes widening. Eleanor, this changes everything. You have proof the ticket is legally yours. But I don't have the actual ticket, I reminded her. Robert has it. Barbara sat back, tapping her fingers thoughtfully on the table. My nephew Marcus is an attorney. Family law, but he'll know who to consult about this. We should talk to him immediately. Marcus Turner arrived at Barbara's house an hour later. A serious-looking man in his early 40s with his aunt's kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He examined the photo on my phone carefully, asking detailed questions about the purchase, the drawing, and everything that had happened since. Mrs. Harrison, based on what you've told me in this photo evidence, I believe you have a very strong claim to the entire jackpot, he concluded. Your name is on the ticket. You paid for it. The fact that your son suggested the numbers is completely irrelevant legally. But what can I do? I asked. They have the physical ticket. That's the tricky part, Marcus admitted. Without the original ticket, making a claim is challenging. The Lottery Commission requires the actual ticket for verification. So I need to get it back, I said simply. Marcus looked uncomfortable. I wouldn't recommend attempting to retrieve the ticket without legal authorization. That could potentially be construed as theft, even though it's rightfully yours. But if they submit a claim first? I pressed. They'd need to forge your signature, which is fraud. But proving that after the fact could be difficult and time-consuming. Barbara, who had been listening intently, leaned forward. What if Eleanor pretends to go along with their plans for now? Buy some time. Marcus nodded slowly. That might be wise. Meanwhile, I can contact the Lottery Commission discreetly, alert them to a potential fraudulent claim without naming names yet. That might slow down any attempt they make to claim without you. For the next 3 days, I performed the most challenging acting role of my life. I returned to Robert and Stephanie's house. I could no longer think of it as home, and pretended to reluctantly accept their plans. I agreed to view the depressing apartment at Sunny Pines. I began packing some of my belongings, sorting through books and mementos while swallowing my hurt and anger. All the while, I was watching, listening, searching for any clue about where Robert might have hidden the ticket. I doubted it was actually in a bank safe deposit box. Those require time to access, and Robert was too controlling to leave the ticket somewhere he couldn't check on it constantly. Marcus, meanwhile, had made discreet inquiries with the Lottery Commission. He discovered that Robert had indeed contacted them about claiming procedures but hadn't yet submitted the ticket. According to the clerk Marcus spoke with, Robert had asked numerous questions about whether all purchasers needed to be present to claim or if one person could claim on behalf of a group. They told him everyone whose name appears on the ticket needs to be present or provide notarized consent, Marcus reported during one of our secret meetings at Barbara's house. That's probably why they haven't moved forward yet. They're trying to figure out how to claim without involving you. On the 6th day after the win, opportunity presented itself. Stephanie had organized a shopping excursion to look at new furniture for their expanded living space, meaning my soon-to-be former bedroom. Robert was accompanying her, and they were taking the children along with promises of lunch at their favorite restaurant and a movie afterward. The family would be gone for at least 5 hours. As soon as their car disappeared down the street, I began my systematic search of the house. I started with the obvious places: Robert's sock drawer beneath mattresses, inside books on shelves. Nothing. I moved on to more creative hiding spots, taped to the back of picture frames, inside hollowed-out books within toilet tank lids. By the 3rd hour, frustration and despair were setting in. I had searched nearly every inch of the house except for Robert's home office, which was kept locked. I knew the key was on his keychain, which he always carried with him. Sitting at the kitchen table, feeling defeated, I suddenly remembered something from Robert's childhood. When he was about 12, he had gone through a phase of hiding treasure around the house. His favorite hiding spot had been inside the old desk in his bedroom, a desk that now sat in his home office. The desk had a false bottom in the top right drawer, where a pencil tray could be lifted out to reveal a hidden compartment beneath. Could it be that simple? That he would use the same hiding place he had used as a child? The lock on the office door was my next challenge. I examined it closely. A simple interior door handle with a basic privacy lock, not a deadbolt. I remembered reading somewhere that these could often be opened with a straightened paperclip or small screwdriver. 10 minutes and several bent paperclips later, I heard the satisfying click of the lock releasing. The office door swung open, revealing Robert's immaculate workspace, computer on the desk, filing cabinets against one wall, a small sofa under the window. I went straight to the desk and opened the top right drawer. It contained the expected office supplies: pens, paper clips, a stapler. I carefully lifted out the plastic organizer tray, my heart pounding. And there it was. The lottery ticket, placed inside a clear plastic sleeve for protection. I lifted it with trembling hands and examined it closely. My name, Eleanor Harrison, was clearly printed on the front, just as shown in my photo. The winning numbers matched exactly. This was it, the ticket worth $17 million that my son had attempted to steal from me. I took a photo of the ticket in the plastic sleeve, then removed it carefully and took another photo. I returned the plastic sleeve to the hidden compartment, but put the actual ticket in my purse. Then I replaced the organizer tray, closed the drawer, and exited the office, carefully relocking the door. My heart was racing as I returned to my room and called Barbara. "I found it," I whispered, though no one else was in the house. "I have the ticket." "Are you sure it's the right one?" Barbara asked. "Positive. My name is on it, and all 6 numbers match." "Come over immediately," Barbara instructed. "Marcus is already on his way. We need to move quickly before they discover it's missing." I packed a single suitcase with essential clothing, medications, and irreplaceable mementos: photos of Thomas, my wedding ring, the handmade cards the grandchildren had given me over the years. I wrote a brief note and left it on my bed. "I've gone to stay with Barbara for a few days, while I consider your apartment suggestion. We'll be in touch soon. Mom." As I closed the front door behind me, I felt a complex mixture of emotions: grief for what had been lost, anger at the betrayal, but also a strange sense of liberation. For the first time in years, I was taking control of my own destiny. The lottery ticket, my ticket, was safely in my purse, and with it, the power to shape my future on my own terms. Barbara's guest bedroom became my sanctuary and command center. Marcus arrived within the hour, examining the original ticket with careful hands gloved in cotton to preserve any fingerprints and avoid adding new ones. "This is definitely the winning ticket," he confirmed, his expression serious but satisfied. "And your name is clearly listed as the purchaser. Legally, this ticket and the winnings belong solely to you, Mrs. Harrison. What do we do now?" I asked, still processing the magnitude of what had happened. "First, we secure the ticket in my law firm's safe," Marcus explained. "Then we contact the Lottery Commission to begin the claim process. I'll represent you throughout to ensure everything is handled properly." "And Robert and Stephanie?" Barbara asked, voicing the question I couldn't bring myself to ask. Marcus's expression was grim. "They'll discover the ticket missing soon enough. When they do, they have 2 options. Admit they were trying to steal Mrs. Harrison's winnings, or falsely accuse her of stealing their ticket. Either way, they've put themselves in a very difficult legal position." As if on cue, my phone began ringing. Robert's name flashed on the screen. I showed it to Marcus, who shook his head. "Don't answer yet. Let me get the ticket safely secured first. Then we'll deal with them." The phone eventually stopped ringing, only to start again moments later. This pattern continued for the next hour as Marcus carefully placed the ticket in a secure document envelope and prepared to take it to his office safe. "I'll be back as soon as this is locked away," he promised. "In the meantime, try to rest. Tomorrow will be challenging." After Marcus left, Barbara made us tea and sandwiches, though I could barely eat. My phone continued to ring intermittently, now alternating between Robert and Stephanie's numbers. Text messages began arriving too. "Mom, where are you? We're worried. The apartment fell through. Come home so we can discuss options. This isn't funny, Mom. Call us immediately." The transparent attempts at manipulation were almost laughable. They hadn't noticed the missing ticket yet. They were just concerned that their retirement community plan had hit a snag. It was around 8 o'clock that evening when the tone of the messages suddenly changed. "Call me right now. Where is it? What have you done? You have no idea what you're doing." Then my phone rang again, Robert's name flashing on the screen. This time with Marcus back and the ticket safely secured. I answered and put it on speaker. "Hello, Robert," I said calmly. "Where is it?" he demanded, his voice tight with barely controlled rage. "What did you take from my office?" "I believe you mean what did I reclaim from your office?" I corrected him. "My lottery ticket with my name on it." There was a moment of stunned silence before Stephanie's voice cut in. They were on speakerphone too. You broke into our house? That's illegal. We're calling the police. Please do, I replied evenly. I'm sure they'd be very interested to hear how you plan to claim my lottery winnings fraudulently. More silence, then Robert again, his voice now attempting reasonableness. Mom, you're not thinking clearly. That ticket belongs to all of us. We're family. We were always going to share the winnings. Is that why you were making plans to move me into Sunny Pines while you renovated my room? Is that why you contacted the lottery commission asking if you could claim without me present? Who told you that? Stephanie demanded. It doesn't matter, I said. What matters is that I have the ticket now, and it's being properly secured while my attorney prepares to file the claim on my behalf. Your attorney? Robert sounded genuinely shocked. Yes. Barbara's nephew Marcus is representing me. He's already contacted the lottery commission to alert them to the situation. Stephanie's voice turned threatening. You realize this means you're no longer welcome in our home. Your things will be on the curb tomorrow. I felt a stab of pain but kept my voice steady. That's your choice. But remember that I contributed $80,000 to that home money you promised would guarantee me a place to live. We'll sue you, Stephanie hissed. We'll fight this all the way. On what grounds? I asked. The ticket has my name on it. I paid for it. The law is absolutely clear in this case. The call ended abruptly. Barbara reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You did wonderfully, Eleanor. I'm so proud of you. The following morning, Marcus accompanied me to the State Lottery Commission office to begin the formal claim process. We provided the original ticket, my identification, and completed the necessary paperwork. The officials were professional and discreet, though I could tell our case was unusual. We've been alerted to a potential dispute regarding this ticket, one administrator mentioned carefully. Marcus nodded. My client's name is clearly printed on the ticket as the purchaser. She has photo evidence of the purchase as well. Any other claims are fraudulent and will be addressed through legal channels if necessary. The claim process was initiated, with the Lottery Commission confirming it would take approximately 2 weeks for verification and processing. We were just leaving the commission offices when my phone rang again. An unknown number this time. I answered cautiously. Eleanor Harrison? An unfamiliar male voice asked. Yes, who's calling? This is Detective Michael Collins with the County Police Department. I'm calling regarding a theft report filed by your son, Robert Harrison. He claims you broke into his home office and stole a lottery ticket belonging to him. I'd like to ask you some questions about this matter. Marcus immediately took the phone. Detective Collins, this is Marcus Turner, Mrs. Harrison's attorney. My client did not steal anything. She reclaimed her own property, a lottery ticket purchased by her, with her name printed on it as the purchaser. We have just filed a claim with the State Lottery Commission with the original ticket and proper identification. There was a pause before the detective spoke again. I see. That puts things in a different light. Would you and Mrs. Harrison be willing to come to the station to provide a statement? This would help us resolve the matter more quickly. We'll be there in 30 minutes, Marcus agreed. At the police station, I calmly explained the entire situation, showing the officers the photo I had taken of the ticket when I purchased it, with my name clearly visible. Marcus provided documentation of our lottery claim filing and explained the legal status of lottery tickets. In the eyes of the law, a lottery ticket belongs to the person whose name is written on it, he informed Detective Collins. Mrs. Harrison's name is the only one on this ticket. The fact that her son suggested random numbers is completely irrelevant legally. The detective took detailed notes, his expression growing increasingly troubled. So to be clear, you're saying that your son and daughter-in-law were attempting to claim your winnings without your knowledge or consent? Yes, I said simply. And when that didn't work, they tried to pressure me into moving out of their home. A home I helped them purchase with $80,000 from the sale of my house. That's a civil matter regarding the house, Marcus interjected. But the attempted lottery fraud is criminal. Detective Collins nodded thoughtfully. I'll need to speak with your son and his wife to get their side of the story. But based on what you've shown me, Mrs. Harrison, It appears you were within your rights to reclaim your property. As we were leaving the station, Barbara called with an urgent update. They're here, she said without preamble. Robert and Stephanie just showed up at my house. They're demanding to see you. We'll be right there, I assured her. Don't open the door if you don't feel safe. Too late for that, Barbara replied dryly. They spotted my car and knew I was home. They're sitting in my living room now, looking like thunder. 20 minutes later, Marcus and I arrived at Barbara's house. As we walked up the driveway, I steeled myself for the confrontation ahead. This would be difficult but necessary. Robert and Stephanie were indeed sitting stiffly on Barbara's floral sofa. Their expressions were a study in barely contained rage. Mom, Robert began immediately, rising to his feet. This has gone far enough. You need to give back what you took and come home, so we can sort this out as a family. There's nothing to sort out, I replied calmly. The ticket is mine. It has my name on it. I've already filed the claim with the lottery commission. We picked those numbers. Stephanie almost shouted. Without Robert, there would be no winning ticket. That's not how lottery tickets work, Marcus explained patiently. The legal owner is the person whose name appears on the ticket as purchaser. Mrs. Harrison's name is the only one that appears. The fact that someone else suggested random numbers is legally irrelevant. We're your family, Robert said, changing tactics, his voice now pleading. You would really do this to us? To your own grandchildren? The mention of Madison and Jason sent a pang through my heart. I love my grandchildren dearly, I said. And I would never teach them that it's acceptable to betray family for money, unlike what you and Stephanie have demonstrated. This is ridiculous, Stephanie snapped. We were going to share the money with you eventually. Just not all at once. You can't be trusted with that much money at your age. My age? I repeated. I'm 68, not 108. I taught financial literacy to high school students for decades. I managed our family finances throughout my marriage. I'm perfectly capable of handling my own money. The children miss you, Robert tried next, desperation creeping into his voice. They don't understand why you left. I left because you and Stephanie were planning to force me out while claiming my lottery winnings. I reminded him. Don't try to use the children as emotional leverage. It's manipulative and unfair to them. What do you want? Stephanie finally asked bluntly. A bigger cut? Fine, name your price. Marcus interrupted before I could respond. This isn't a negotiation. The entire jackpot legally belongs to Mrs. Harrison. Any sharing of the proceeds would be entirely at her discretion. Robert's face flushed with anger. So that's it? You're just taking everything? After all we've done for you? The audacity of his statement left me momentarily speechless. After all they had done for me? When I had given them $80,000 in years of free childcare and housekeeping. Robert, I said quietly, I raised you better than this. I taught you about honesty, integrity, and family loyalty. Somewhere along the way, you seem to have forgotten those lessons. That breaks my heart more than anything else about this situation. For just a moment, I saw a flicker of the sun I remembered, a flash of shame crossing his face. But Stephanie quickly grabbed his arm. We're wasting our time here, she declared. Our lawyer says we have a case. We'll see you in court. As they stormed out, slamming Barbara's front door behind them, I sank onto the sofa, suddenly exhausted. The confrontation had been every bit as painful as I'd anticipated. Marcus looked thoughtful. They don't have a legal leg to stand on, but they might still try to contest the claim. It would be a frivolous lawsuit, but it could delay the payout. What happens now? I asked. Now, he said with a gentle smile, we wait for the lottery commission to process your claim, and you start thinking about what you want your new life to look like. For the first time since this ordeal began, I allowed myself to truly contemplate the future. A future suddenly full of possibilities I had never imagined. 2 weeks after filing my claim, I received the call from the lottery commission. My ticket had been verified, all paperwork was in order, and the prize was officially mine. After taxes, I would receive approximately $8.5 million. Marcus had already helped me set up meetings with a financial advisor, an accountant, and an estate planning attorney. Together, we developed a comprehensive plan for managing this unexpected wealth responsibly. The first decision, my financial advisor Sarah explained during our initial consultation, is whether you want the lump sum or the annuity option. I chose the lump sum. At 68, the guaranteed 30-year payout of the annuity seemed less practical. This decision reduced the total amount but gave me immediate access to the funds. My first priority was securing a place to live. Not the depressing retirement community Robert and Stephanie had selected, but a place of my own choosing. I found a lovely 2-bedroom condo in a secure building within the same town. It was modest by lottery winner standards but perfect for my needs. Single-level living, a small balcony for container gardening, and a second bedroom for guests or perhaps eventually a caregiver if needed. The condo cost $450,000, a significant purchase but still well within my new means. I paid cash, eliminating any mortgage concerns. The knowledge that I owned my home outright, that no one could ever evict me again, brought a profound sense of security I hadn't realized I'd been missing. With my housing secured, I turned to practical matters. I created an emergency fund, set up investment accounts for long-term growth, and established a budget for daily living that was comfortable but not extravagant. Sarah helped me understand sustainable withdrawal rates to ensure my money would last throughout my lifetime, no matter how long I lived. These practical steps were straightforward. The emotional healing proved far more challenging. The loss of my relationship with Robert cut deeper than any financial betrayal could. For weeks, I would find myself reaching for the phone to share some small news with him, only to remember our estrangement. I would see something in a store that Madison or Jason would love, only to realize I had no way to give it to them without going through their parents. Barbara, ever my rock, suggested I see a therapist. "This is a traumatic loss, Eleanor," she insisted. "Professional support could help." Dr. Lydia Winters specialized in family estrangement and betrayal trauma. In her calm office with its comfortable chairs and soft lighting, I gradually unpacked the layers of hurt, anger, and grief. "You've experienced multiple losses," Dr. Winters observed during one session. "The practical loss of your living situation, the emotional loss of your relationship with your son, the loss of daily contact with your grandchildren, and perhaps most painfully, the loss of your understanding of who your son is as a person." She was right. The Robert who had plotted to steal my lottery winnings and discard me was not the Robert the first thought I had raised. Reconciling these two versions of my only child became part of my healing journey. Through therapy, I also connected with a support group for parents estranged from adult children. The stories shared in that circle reminded me that I was not alone in my experience. Many had suffered similar betrayals, though few with such dramatic financial stakes. 3 months after moving into my new condo, I received an unexpected email from Madison's school email account. My tech-savvy granddaughter had figured out how to contact me without her parents' knowledge. "Dear Grandma," she wrote, "we miss you so much. Mom and Dad won't talk about why you left. They get mad when we ask about you. Jason cries at night sometimes. When can you come see us?" Her message broke my heart all over again. After consulting with Marcus about the legal implications, I responded carefully, assuring Madison that I loved her and Jason deeply, that none of what had happened was their fault, and that I hoped to see them soon. I avoided saying anything negative about their parents or mentioning the lottery situation. This clandestine communication continued for several weeks before Stephanie discovered it and sent me a blistering email demanding I stop manipulating the children. Rather than engage in a pointless argument, I consulted Marcus again about my grandparent rights. In this state, grandparents can petition for visitation rights if they can demonstrate that maintaining the relationship is in the children's best interest, he explained. But litigation would be costly emotionally for everyone, especially the children. Perhaps there's another approach we could try first. That approach came in the form of a formal letter from Marcus to Robert and Stephanie, proposing a mediated conversation about establishing a visitation schedule for the grandchildren. To my surprise, Robert agreed, though Stephanie refused to participate. The mediation session was tense but productive. Robert sat across from me, looking tired and somewhat deflated. "The kids won't stop asking about you," he admitted. "It's becoming a problem." "Because they love their grandmother," I said simply. "And I love them. We established a tentative visitation arrangement. I would see Madison and Jason one Saturday afternoon each month, picking them up from and returning them to Robert and Stephanie's house with minimal interaction required between the adults. Our first visit was awkward but joyful. The children were initially shy, perhaps unsure what they were allowed to say or feel. But by the end of our afternoon at the park and ice cream shop, they were chattering freely, filling me in on school projects and friendships. As I was driving them home, Jason asked the question I'd been dreading. "Grandma, is it true you won a lot of money and didn't share with Daddy?" I chose my words carefully. Money can sometimes make people behave in ways they wouldn't normally act. Your daddy and I had a disagreement about some money, but that has nothing to do with how much I love you and Madison. Mom says you were selfish, Madison stated, watching my reaction closely. Everyone sees situations differently, I replied. What's important is that I'm back in your lives now, and I'll always love you no matter what. Meanwhile, I had been considering what to do with my unexpected wealth beyond securing my own future. The idea of a foundation had been percolating in my mind for weeks. After consulting with my financial team, I established the Harrison Teachers Fund, a foundation dedicated to helping retired educators facing financial hardships. Teaching had been my passion for 4 decades, and I knew firsthand how many dedicated educators struggled financially in retirement. My foundation would provide emergency assistance, housing support, and medical gap funding for retired teachers in need. The initial endowment was $2 million, structured to provide sustainable support for decades to come. This purposeful use of my wealth brought a deep satisfaction that mere consumption never could have provided. I joined the foundation's board of directors, working alongside other retired educators to review applications and allocate funds. This meaningful work helped fill the void left by my fractured family relationships. 6 months after our lottery saga began, I received an unexpected call from Robert. His voice sounded strained, hesitant. "Mom, I was wondering if we could talk. In person." We met at a neutral location, a quiet coffee shop downtown. Robert arrived alone, looking noticeably thinner and more careworn than when I'd last seen him. "Stephanie and I are separating," he announced after our coffees arrived. "It's been building for a while, but the whole lottery situation brought everything to a head." I expressed appropriate sympathy, though I couldn't honestly say I was surprised. Money has a way of revealing character, not creating it. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," Robert continued, staring into his coffee cup rather than meeting my eyes. "About what happened. About how we treated you." He finally looked up.
"I'm ashamed, Mom.
I let greed and Stephanie's influence override everything you taught me about decency and family." His apology seemed genuine, but I had learned to be cautious. "I appreciate you saying that, Robert. Truly. But trust, once broken, takes time to rebuild." He nodded, accepting this reality. "I'm not asking for money," he clarified quickly. I miss my mother. The kids miss their grandmother. I was hoping we might find a way forward somehow." We talked for nearly 2 hours that afternoon. About hurt and betrayal, about forgiveness and boundaries, about the complicated nature of family relationships. We didn't resolve everything, such deep wounds don't heal in a single conversation, but we took the first tentative steps toward a new kind of relationship. In the year since winning the lottery, I've learned more about human nature than in all my previous 67 years combined. I've learned that money doesn't just change people. It reveals who they truly were all along. I've learned that standing up for yourself is never too late, even when doing so is terrifying. I've learned that family isn't just about blood relations, but about who treats you with love and respect. My relationship with Robert remains complicated. We're building something new from the ashes of what was destroyed, but it's a slow and cautious process. Stephanie and I maintain minimal contact, interacting only when absolutely necessary regarding the children. Madison and Jason visit me regularly now, and those visits are the brightest spots in my life. As for the money, it has provided security but not happiness. That comes from the relationships I've nurtured with Barbara, with my grandchildren, with my foundation colleagues, with the new friends I've made in my condo community. It comes from knowing I stood up for myself when it mattered most. If you're facing your own family betrayal or difficult situation, remember that it's never too late to advocate for yourself. Age doesn't diminish your right to be treated with dignity and respect. Creating boundaries isn't selfish. It's necessary for your well-being. And sometimes the family you choose can be more supportive than the family you were born into. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this story in the comments below. Have you ever had to stand up to family members who weren't treating you right? What gave you the courage to do so? Please like this video if my story resonated with you. Subscribe for more real-life experiences, and share with someone who might need to hear that it's okay to protect yourself, even from family. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember, your worth isn't determined by how others treat you, but by how you treat yourself.